knows
that I ain't going
nowhere.
I ain't blowing no smoke. I mean, I've been sober, but you should've known it, that I wasn't going.
Let's welcome our host, Erica Wilson.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're here on this Wednesday, guys. We're already at the end of April. Oh my God. So if you're new to this channel, I would like to welcome you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe and hit that notification button. It will let you guys know every time we go live here at It Had to Happen. Listen, we know that they're gonna happen, but they happen to you, but they happening for you. So tonight's topic, guys, is learn the language before you lead the conversation. So think about this. Have you ever been in a room you prayed for, right? And you realize you didn't fully know how to move once you got in there? I want you guys to be honest on tonight. Who's ever experienced that? Just drop it in the chat and let me know if you ever experienced that. And it wasn't because you didn't belong in that room, but because you hadn't learned the language of that room. There's a difference when you're entering a room, owning the room, and scanning the room. You have to know when to speak. We walk in rooms sometimes and we just want to be a part of things or a part of the conversation, and we go to messing up things before they even begin. Something that could be so great for us, we end up messing up because we ended up opening our mouths, and we speak before we supposed to. And the thing about it is, you have to scan every room. You have to read. When you scan the room, read it, and then govern yourself accordingly. Okay? Because you see, every room has a language, right? It has a rhythm, and it has an unspoken code. You need to know the difference. So, what do you think happened when someone ignores the room and just starts talking? I remember TD Jakes saying one time that we need to learn how to shut up. I know that sounds a little harsh, but sometimes we do. We really and truly do. We just have to learn when we walk into that room. Let the Holy Spirit use you. Let your spirit of discernment kick in, and then you know when to speak and when not to speak. So let's see what happens when speaking too soon isn't just a communication issue. It's a discipline issue. So we're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to talk about this Lisa lady, right? We're just going to give her a name on tonight. We're going to talk about the seat that Lisa prayed for. And how many of us pray for seats in the room? I just pray for certain things, hoping that we'll get it, that God will bless us. But the big question is, are we really ready for it? So let's listen to Lisa's story. So Lisa, she prayed for this seat inside of the room. And then when she got in the room, and she prayed for this seat for months, y'all, not just a couple of days, but she prayed for this for months. And she was hoping that God would answer her prayers. So she asked God for access, right? She asked him for access to be seen and to be heard, but to finally sit at tables where decisions were made. And guess what? One day that happened, an invitation, a seat at the table with leaders, not only leaders, but executives and people who carried influence. This is what Lisa really wanted, right? So when she walked in there all confident and, she walked in there like she just owned that room at that particular time. She was prepared. Oh boy, she thought she was. But the room was polished. Conversations were sharp and intentional. People weren't just talking, they were measuring their words. But Lisa, but she didn't notice that. She heard a pause in the conversation and jumped in. As soon as she jumped in, she started speaking fast. She started sharing her ideas, over explaining. She trying to prove herself. She trying to feel like, make sure she feel belong, like she feel belonged, right? And then the thing about it, people started looking at her as she heads, nodded politely, but then the eyes shifted, the room changed. The energy in that room changed at that particular time. It was so subtle, but it was real, y'all. See, what she thought was confidence owning the room, right? It felt like interruption to everybody else. What she thought was contribution, but it felt like noise in a room that valued precision. Know the room, y'all. We have to know the room when we walk into that room. And just like that, right? Just like that. Nothing dramatic happened. Not, no one corrected her. No one embarrassed her. That's one thing right there. No one corrected her. No one embarrassed her. But we will have some people, my God, when you're out of line or out of pocket doing something that they think that you shouldn't be doing, you do have those that will embarrass you. But the thing is, when Lisa was sitting at this table, these people already knew that she thought she knew everything. So they wasn't going to correct her. And the best thing about it, they didn't embarrass her. So what they did, they just moved on, but something shifted. She wasn't called on again. See, her voice wasn't invited back into the conversation at all. Not because she wasn't capable, y'all, but because she hadn't even yet learned the language of the room. We're going to sit there for a minute. Lisa really thought she had it together. She walked in overconfident. She just knew that her voice was going to shift something in there. It did. It shifted energy, real quick. real quick, right? But here's the turn, and I want you guys to stay with me. Stay with me now. We're talking about a room that Lisa prayed to be in. And here it is. She messed it up. I won't say messed up all the way, but let's see what was the turn, So after that meeting, she sat in her car in silence. She wasn't hurt. She just was aware. She realized that I knew what I wanted to say, but I didn't take time to understand how this room communicates. So the next time she was invited, she moved differently. She listened longer. She even watched how ideas were presented. And she noticed the pauses, the tone, the timing. And when she finally spoke, it was brief, clear, and aligned. And this time, guys, the room didn't just hear her, they leaned in. See, when you know better, you do better. When you know better, you do better. So Lisa had to make the mistake of going into the room overconfident. So that was her mistake. That was her that happened on that particular time. And although she thought that it was over, but she had time to sit with herself and see what she had did wrong. She had time to sit in it and say, oh my God, like, where did I go wrong? And as the Holy Spirit began to pour into her and show her the things that where she went wrong, she knew next time, or if there would be a next time, how she would handle things differently. And she did. She did. So at the end of the day, see, when she went to that second room, like they said, she didn't just get hurt. They leaned in. They was really she had their attention at that particular time. So here's the lesson I want you guys to get from Lisa's story. You see, speaking isn't what gives you influence in a room. Alignment does. You see, because when you learn the language of the table, you don't have to be, you don't have to fight to be heard. After learning the language at the table, first of all, you're called to sit at the table. Where are you sitting? Where you want to sit? Let me ask you that. Because a lot of times we like to sit at the head of the table because we feel like we're so important. And, I just have to have the head seat of the table, or I need to be, where the big timers are, the big influencers are. I just really need to be where they are. but just not understanding. Just get a seat at the table. Just get your butt in the room and get a seat at the table and be honored that you got a seat at the table. And I'm one of the ones like, put me in the game, coach. I don't care where you put me in at because I'm going to bring my game. I'm going to bring my game. So you can sit me at any spot at the table. I know how to play my part. I know how to play my part because you know what? Your voice will carry you because it fits in the room you're in. So when you know who you are and who you belong to, you can walk in that room and you let the Holy Spirit use you and use your spirit of discernment to know when to speak and when not to speak. When just to observe things or when it's your time to speak. You see, because when you develop the discipline to listen, when you develop that discipline, first of all, you're going to listen longer. Your discernment going to be deeper and you're going to speak with intention. You won't be heard. You will be respected. And I know that's something that we all want. We want to be respected. We all deserve to be respected, but like it's, we have to make sure, again, enter the room, sitting at someone else's table, first of all, have some respect. Whatever it is that you want, give it. So if you want the respect, give the respect, right? So not only will you be respected, you will be remembered and requested. They'll request to have you back. But when you come in there like you owning the people's table and you know that you're just a guest, come on now. We have to know some proper etiquette, guys. We have to know, again, learn the language before we lead the conversations. Everybody wants to be leaders. We want to be, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a leader, right? But sometimes you have to play your part. It's okay. And that's why I don't like getting mixed up in titles and things like that, because at the end of the day, God blesses all of us with different gifts, right? He blesses each and every one of us with different gifts. And although he can give some of us the exact same gifts, he's going to use us totally different. Totally different. But I talked about Lisa, but I want to take y'all to the Bible because that's one of the things, hey, your girl loves to read the Bible. And there's so many things in there that can help us on a daily basis. I don't care what it is you're going through. There's a word in that Bible for you. So before, guys, we jump into the biblical side of it, I want to take you guys to commercial really quick, okay? And this session is being sponsored by MXT. All right. Shouts out to MXT. And I'm going to go to another commercial, guys, while I kind of, I'm a little parched here, so I need to get something to drink. So really quick, I'll be right back.
I would like you to hit the like button at the beginning, because every time you hit the like button, you are letting YouTube know that what you are seeing and hearing is edifying for you, so it can be shared with others. That's why hitting the like button is so important. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing to the channel.
It had to happen. Your title is so powerful. When I read the name of your ministry, it had to happen.
All right, guys, have you hit that subscribe button yet? As well as the notification button. It will let you guys know every time we go live here, and it had to happen. Whew. So are you guys ready for the biblical side of it? We heard all about Lisa, and this is something that Lisa had been praying for months. So I want to kind of compare Lisa's story to someone in the Bible, that old man Peter. How many of us know about Peter? You know, that Peter, he was bold, y'all. He was bold and he was confident, something like Lisa was, something like Lisa was. But let's get into it. He was always ready to speak, but there was a moment where his voice got ahead of his discernment. But here's the connection with Lisa. Just like the woman who entered the room, Lisa, and she spoke too soon. You see, Peter had a moment where he was in a powerful and sacred environment, but he didn't fully read it. Just like Lisa. You see, on the mountain during the transfiguration, Jesus was revealed in glory. It was a holy moment for Peter. It was weighty and also divine. How many of us feel like that when we walked in the room and sat at those people's table? How many of us? And then Peter, he just went on ahead and just started talking, y'all. Peter just started rambling off at the mouth. And he just started talking. He let it out, And although when Peter began to talk, he forgot that he needed to learn what? The language before you lead the conversation. Stop going into people's rooms, y'all, and trying to take over the conversation, not take over those people's room. Have some respect. But here's the things. Let's build 3 shelters, right? Let's go to Matthew 17:4. And we know when Peter said, okay, well, I'm confident, I'm bold, and he's just entering that room like, I got this, okay? But although it sounded so good when Peter went to talking, it sounded helpful even, but it wasn't aligned with the moment. He really spoke before fully understanding what was happening. But before he could even finish, God interrupted him. God interrupted him. There's a thing when God get to interrupting whatever it is you got going on or saying, and when he gets your attention. But see, Peter was yapping, but then in the middle of his yapping, he heard that still small voice from heaven. And it said, this is my son. Listen to him. Not add to it, not lead it, just listen. Just listen. You see, Peter, he wasn't wrong for being present. That wasn't the problem. He was just premature in his response. He was just premature in his response. It wasn't time for him to speak just as yet. And that's where many of us, and I say us, I can include myself as well. I can talk about me, but that is where many of us miss it. We miss it, people of God, because you can be in the right room and you could be around the right people in a God-ordained moment and still speak out of timing. Just like Lisa and Peter had access, but he hadn't fully aligned yet. He hadn't even aligned with the people in the room. But just because he had access, he thought that he was aligned. Come on, y'all. We sit at tables thinking that we're aligned with folks instead of just sitting back, reading the room, scanning the room, and see if we're truly, truly aligned with them. Because once you don't speak and you listen to others speak long enough, you can tell if that's the room that you're supposed to be in to just observe, or if that's the room that you're supposed to be in to speak. And I'm not saying that don't speak when you enter rooms. That's not what I'm saying. But you just have to know how to learn that language of that room before you go and try to speak into them, them people meetings or wherever you at. We have to learn that language, y'all. Learn that language. But see, this is where grace is inside of all of this. This is where grace is in it. When Peter, he learned from it. He went from speaking impulsively to preaching with power and precision in Acts. So don't let your voice outrun your discernment like Peter did and Lisa did. They spoke out of turn. They didn't use the spirit. They didn't allow the spirit of discernment to use them. And people of God, if you don't have the spirit of discernment, ask God for it. Ask God to bless you with it. It's a beautiful thing. Sometimes it can be a bit scary, but it's a beautiful thing. So if you don't have the spirit of discernment, pray and ask God for it. That's one of the things that put on your prayer list, people of God. It is awesome to have, because see, even in the spirit of discernment, it will block you from going some places and saying some things. So ask God, put that on your prayer list tonight. Let me jump back into this. You see, we're going to talk about Mr. Peter again. So because you learn the language of the room and the moment, you won't be interrupted. But I want to ask you guys this. Have you ever been in a room and you spoken too soon and later realized, I should have just listened? I'm going to pause here for a minute because I want to hear your answers. I know there was time that I did. And like I said, I could talk about me. I can talk about me because I know that's the only way that we can get the help that we need is when we admit some things and hold ourselves accountable for them. We can't get no help if we stay in denial and say, oh, well, it's me. It's everybody else. I mean, it's not me. It's everybody else. Can't get the help at all. But I'm going to give you a couple of, I'm going to give you 3 to 4 key reasons why we speak too soon. Since I didn't have any comments in the comment section, I'm going to just go ahead and jump into the 3 key reasons why people speak too soon. These are the common reasons people speak too soon. One of them is the need to prove themselves. Let me say that again. The need to prove themselves. Help me, Holy Spirit. They be saying, I have to say something so that they know I belong. And the root issue of that is insecurity masked as confidence. Insecurity masked as confidence. But the truth of the matter is, you don't validate your seat by talking. You validate it by how you carry yourself. Again, you do not validate your seat by talking. You validate it by how you carry yourself. Number 2, lack of discernment. We just talked about that discernment. Put it on your prayer list tonight if you don't have the spirit of discernment already. If God have not blessed you with the spirit of discernment, put that on your prayer list tonight. But number 2 is lack of discernment. And in Ecclesiastes 3:7, it tells us there's a time to be silent and a time to speak. Not recognizing the tone, the timing, or weight of the moment. Missing what's really happening beneath the surface. You see, even Peter, he spoke during a sacred moment without even fully understanding it. That, we just talked about it. Peter had just said, okay, let me just go ahead. I'm so confident. Let me walk in this room and say what I need to say so these people can know who I am. Number 3, Peter was overconfident. Overconfidence in knowledge. That's number 3. Overconfidence in knowledge. I know this. I can add value right now. But knowledge without awareness equals misalignment. Remember Job's friends? Job's friends spoke confidently. And they got it wrong, guys, because they didn't understand the full picture. They didn't even understand the full picture. They didn't learn the language before trying to lead the conversation. Job friends, I'm giving you guys different people in the Bible. Number 4 is fear of being overlooked. Fear of being overlooked. Silence feels like invisibility. So people rush to fill a space. Because if I'm silent, I don't feel heard. So I got to make some noise so so they can feel me. Not so. Not so. Not so, people of God. The truth of the matter is silence, when it's intentional, actually builds presence. When it's intentional, it builds presence. Excuse me. Excuse me, my babies. It builds presence, guys. Number 5, emotionally reactivity. Speaking from feelings instead of wisdom. Responding instead of discerning. Oh, no. My feelings hurt, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to respond. I'm going to let them know how I feel. I didn't even think this thing out. I'm running off emotions because of how they made me feel. Even though it may be the truth, but how they made me feel, I'm going to let them know. Y'all gonna be like Martha, because Martha, she spoke from frustration instead of understanding the moment. She didn't even give herself time to learn the language before leading the conversation. She did not. She just was speaking out of frustration. Them emotions will mess us up. They'll mess us up. So we have to think before we speak. We can't just go babbling off at the mouth. We just can't. So if any of you, which one gets you the most? Put it in the comments. Which one gets you the most? I would love to hear from you. And if you choose not to put it here in the comments, just think about it tonight. You can replay this conversation and ask yourself some of these questions and be real with yourself. Free yourself. Free yourself. You see, because some of us, we really aren't lacking opportunity. That's not what we're lacking. We're just lacking discipline. Discipline. How many of us are disciplined? I know I wish I could be disciplined with working out and my eating habits. Good God Almighty. But we ain't going to go there. This is a whole nother topic. We're not going to even go there. We're going to start talking about the consequences of speaking too soon. We already went over what are some of the causes of us speaking too soon. But let's go over Mr. Consequences. Because there are consequences for speaking too soon. And we saw that with Lisa, and we saw that with Peter as well. Martha, and even Job's friends. We saw it. We just heard it, we just heard it. But here's 5. I'll just give you a couple of them. Here is the consequences of speaking too soon. And one of them is loss of credibility. See, people may not correct you, but they will reassess you. Although they may not correct you, they'll go to thinking twice about, should I or shouldn't I? Should I or shouldn't I? Number 2 is missed influence. You're present, but you're no longer invited in the conversation. Ouch. You are present, but you're no longer invited in the conversation. Oh boy, you messing with somebody's ego right there, Erica. But those are the consequences for speaking too soon. Know your role. Learn the language before you lead the conversation. And number 3 is misinterpretation of your intentions. See, what you meant as confidence can come off as arrogance, interruption, and lack of awareness. Boy, I remember, and like I said, I could talk about me because this is the Real, Raw, and Redeemed podcast. Okay. But I remember hearing someone speak. And when he was speaking, I took it as if he was being arrogant. And I said it out of my mouth. He was being arrogant. However, after listening to him a couple of times, the man just know who he is and who he belonged to. And sometimes our arrogance, our character can be mistaken. You know, some people can think that we're being arrogant, but no, we're not. The man knew who he was and knew who he is, and knew who he belonged to. So he had every right to get up there because he knew what he was talking about. And I can say he learned the language before he led the conversation. So he had every right to get up there and speak. But it says here, arrogance, interruption, and lack of awareness is one of the consequences of speaking too soon. And the worst thing is closed doors. Number 4 is closed doors. Quietly. Woof. Closed doors quietly. No confrontation, just fewer invitations. You don't get invited anymore because you didn't learn the language of the room. You didn't learn the language before trying to lead the conversation. So the doors were shut. They were closed, shut, quietly. There wasn't no confrontation. And it wasn't even that they didn't like you anymore. It's just that time was up at their table, and it's okay. It's okay when your time is up at someone's table. It does not make you any less of a person. But instead of focusing on the problem, focus on what did you do to not get invited. Because I know we like to point the fingers at the ones who's not inviting us, but we have to do a self-evaluation and see what did we do to not get invited. But here's the dangerous part. This is the most dangerous part of it. You won't always know you missed it. That's the thing. Because you go to doing this. It's them. It's never me. It's them. It's never me. And that is how you won't even know that you missed it. Because your focus is on them and not what you did. Number 5 is delayed trust. Delayed trust, y'all. Trust isn't just about what you say. It's about when and how you say it. When and how you say it. We talk about this. I'm missing my girl on tonight. Shouts out to you, Lady Shawana, if you listening in. But we talk about it all the time. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And here it says it's about when and how you say it. When and how you say it. Are you wondering why things are going over people's head? Maybe it's the way that you delivered it. It's not always the sender. Sometimes it's the receiver. But we're going to talk about the sender this time. When we're saying things out of line, it's when and how we're saying them. Learn the language before you lead the conversation. So let me ask you this. Would you rather be temporarily silent or permanently overlooked? We're going to sit there. Whew. Don't everybody speak at one time. My. Number 6. Let's just go ahead and jump into number 6. Nobody don't want to be real on tonight. So, oh no, this is not number 6. Sorry. We're going to talk about how to move different. Now we know what was the causes of talking too soon. We heard what were the consequences of speaking too soon. So now what we need to do, we know all the problems. So now let's work on this solution part of it. I love to tell people, like, you don't stay stuck on the problem. You find a solution and you get over that thing. You try to make it better. And that's what we want to do tonight. We want to make it better for you all, myself included, because this is helping me as well. So this is I'm just going to give you just a tad few of, a couple of tools to show you how to move differently. One of the things we can do, we could observe before we speak. Observe before we speak. Observe before you speak. You have to know who leads the conversation. You got to know what tone is being used. And are people speaking briefly or in detail? Learn the language before you lead the conversation. Sometimes what we need to do, we need to go ahead and just pause, observe, and study. We got to do that first before we step in. We have to study the room before you try to lead it. It's a must. It's a must. We don't want to suffer one of the consequences that I read about earlier. We don't want to do that. This is what we have to study that room before you try to lead it. Learn the language before you try to lead the conversation. Come on, people. And then we have to read the unspoken. Sometimes people are not going to speak. We have to read the unspoken. And what is that, Erica? Body language. The energy shifts. Who people listen to versus who they ignore. My man, my daddy, my father, Jesus Christ, he often responded to what wasn't said out loud. So why do we feel like we always have to respond to everything? Some things are better left unsaid. Jesus says, don't be him. He said, be Christ-like. And responded to he didn't respond to what he wasn't, he didn't respond to what wasn't said out loud. Be careful thinking that you have to respond to everything. Learn the language before you lead the conversation. Be wise, people of God. Number 3, so before you begin speaking, ask yourself these 3 questions right here. Is this the right time? Is this the right tone? Is this adding value? Those are the 3 things you should ask yourself, because I know the Bible tells us that tongue could be unruly. We need to taste our words before we spit them out. Use those three tools right there to help you learn how to speak. How to learn the language before you lead the conversation. Those 3 things right there. And this is an exercise that I have for you that's under the sound of my voice. Which one of these do you usually skip? Which one? I'll wait. Which one do you usually skip? I'd like to hear from you. Nobody? Okay. I guess go back and listen to it later. Number 4, we have to master silence. You see, because in Proverbs 17:27, the wise use few words. You see, silence isn't weakness, it's positioning. It ain't weakness, it's positioning. The more you observe, the sharper your contribution becomes. So think about it. Jesus didn't respond to everything, and he was the most powerful voice in the room. I mean, the most powerful voice in the room. But he didn't respond. Even when they hung him up on that cross, he didn't say a mumbling word. Every lie that was told, he didn't try to defend himself. Why do we? I don't know. Because my ego is bruised. Guys, please do hold on one second. I have someone. We have to go over to commercial really quick.
I would like you to hit the like button at the beginning, because every time you hit the like button, you are letting YouTube know that what you are seeing and hearing is edifying for you, so it can be shared with others. That's why hitting the like button is so important. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing to the channel.
It had to happen. Your title was so powerful. When I read the name of your ministry, it had to happen.
All right, we're back. And now we're going to jump into the last point. We talked about how Jesus was the most powerful voice in the room, and he didn't speak all the time, even when they wronged him. Even, like I said, when they hung him up on that cross, he didn't say a mumbling word. When he was being falsely accused, he didn't say a mumbling word. And I have a video that I would like to show you guys after I finish giving you these points about being falsely accused. And when I watched the video, my heart actually went out to these young men because they could have lost it all. They could have lost it all by being falsely accused. But let's go to number 5. We have to learn how to speak with precision. Guys, not performance. We have to learn how to say less, but say it clearly, okay? Say less, but say it clearly. You don't have to over-explain to prove that you're intelligent. My God, Joseph didn't give long speeches. He gave solutions. And I don't know if y'all know about Mr. Joseph. Joseph was a bad man. I love Joseph's story. And if you haven't read the story about Joseph, please do go in the Bible and read that story. It will give you hope. It will give you lots of hope. But Joseph was a man of few words. He did not give the long speeches. When he did speak, he spoke and he gave solutions. He gave out blessings. He was a man after God's own heart. He just was an awesome man. I love Joseph's story. Love Joseph's story. But like I said, he didn't give long speeches. When he did talk, he gave solutions. And number 6, let your first words be measured. Taste the words. Taste them words. Learn the language before you lead the conversation. You got to let your first words be measured. Your first contribution sets your tone in the room. So guys, make it count. You got to make it count. I want you to think about this. I want you to think about the next room you're walking into, whether it's a meeting, a relationship, or a new opportunity. I want you to ask yourself, how will I show up differently? How will I show up differently? Have you made any mistake? Have you made any mistakes about not learning the language before trying to lead a conversation, or sitting down at someone's table, speaking out of turn, speak when you're not even asked to be, when someone didn't even ask you to speak, just try to throw your weight around. Thank you, Holy Spirit. A lot of us like to try to throw our weight around, or who we are, our titles, our accolades, You better learn that room before you try to lead that conversation. And then one of the things that I love to say, we have to learn how to talk with people and not at people. That's the biggest thing too. So in closing, guys, this is what I want to tell you. The table isn't just about access. It's about alignment. See, when you learn the language, when you respect timing, when you move with wisdom, you won't have to fight to be heard. Speaking too soon isn't just a communication issue, it's a discipline issue. Because when you develop the discipline to listen longer, discern deeper, and speak with intention, you won't just be heard. You will be respected, sweetheart, remember, and requested. Come on now. You will be respected, remembered, and requested. Oh, my. Get it, y'all. Respected, remembered, and requested. Y'all, I think I missed my order, but that's all right. They'll have to bring it back. That's all right. So here's what I want to leave with you on tonight. But before I give you this, I want you to say this with me. I will listen before I speak. I will listen before I speak. Learning to listen before you speak is a game changer. It's a game changer, people of God. So after everything that we covered on tonight, I'm going to leave you guys with this. Don't let your voice outrun your discernment. Because when you learn the language of the table, you won't just sit there. You will be trusted to shift the room. I thank you all for tuning in here with me tonight for this awesome topic. Learn the language before you lead the conversation. If this broadcast has blessed you on tonight, please do share it. And if you came in late, please do go back to the beginning and rewatch it, or watch it. There's a lot of jewels that was dropped here on tonight. And tomorrow I will have my girl, Lady Shawana McLeod, with me on tomorrow for our Unsilent series, Hear It. He Speaks, She Heals. I said that I was going to play the video about the young fellows who were being falsely accused, but I'm out of time here. However, I do want to give you a book recommendation that has truly, truly blessed my soul. Mr. Will Baker, shouts out to him if he's listening in, told me about this book. And since my son, loves to read, shouts out to you, Alan, too. You gave me the thumbs up on the book as well. But here's the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. The only book you need to lead you to success. Dale Carnegie. Listen, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Make sure you get this book, y'all. This book will bless your entire soul. And on the back, he have like a roadmap. One of them says communicate with diplomacy and tact. The other says increase your ability to get things done. Make people like you. Become a more persuasive communicator. And become more effective. Become a more effective leader. This book right here. This is my book recommendation for you all. How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. I got it off of Amazon. The timeless bestseller. Get this book. God bless you all. Until next time, meet me back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. And if you would like to be a guest on It Had to Happen, you could go ahead and scan the QR code right there to be a featured guest. Or you could go to my website at www.ericawilsonih2h.com. Again, www.ericawilsonih2h.com. I'd love to have you on. And let us know how we're doing here at It Had to Happen. You could you can send us an email at ithad2happen@gmail.com. We'll love to hear how we're doing here. Also, you could go to our Google and give us a Google review, our Google page, our Google business page, okay? And let us know how we're doing. Hopefully we get the 5 stars from you all. But do follow me on social media platforms, the Dr. Erica Wilson, and that is my personal Instagram as well as Facebook. Also for the business, it is the Erica Wilson H2H. And on TikTok, follow me as well. I will love, love, love to see you there. God bless each and every one of you. Until next time, we love you here. Bye-bye.